Okay, so now it's time to move on to section 5, which is the saucer pylon, or I call it her neck. And this is a relatively straightforward, relatively simple process. But let's see, we'll do the lighting thing. Well, the lights are going to go into the neck. Those are the model kit instructions and the instructions for the lighting kit. Relatively straightforward. So what I got to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to prime them and then paint them. So I'll show you what they look like when they're primed. Alright, so I just finished spraying the inside. This is the second coat of the bright white. And when that's dry, I'll be able to flip them over, sand, and put the primary color. And they'll be all set to wire. And put together, of course. Okay, so it's been lightly sanded. The coats of primer are on. They're dried. The inside has been primed and painted with bright white paint. 2 coats of that. Make it nice and bright on the inside. And they're all set to paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the primary color that I've been doing for the ship, the Battleship Gray, on the outside. And then I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's painted. Here's coat number 1. I put on a light coat, and if I need to, I'll give it a light sanding before applying the second coat. It looks like there's little bubbles. You know, it's weird because when the can gets a little more than 3/4 empty, it starts to do that. Didn't do that in this one, so I'll probably have to sand it when I do the next coat. Alright, I just put the final coat of paint on, and we're just waiting for that to dry. Once that dries, then I can put the final assembly, you know, the windows and things into the windows, and I can wire it, and we'll be ready to put together. Alright, I just put the final coat of paint on, and we're just waiting for that to dry. Once that dries, then I can put the final assembly, you know, the windows and things into the windows, and I can wire it, and we'll be ready to put together. Alright, so each half is nice and dry, and they've been painted. They got 2 coats of primer, and the inside, in addition to the primer, has 2 coats of the bright white, and the outside is the Battleship Gray, which the ship is going to be. Same thing with the other half, the bright white. So it's ready to go ahead and put in the windows. Okay, so we went ahead and we put the windows in, and they were glued in, and I put the wire in, attached the LED light strip, and I hot glued it into place. So now it's all set to close up, but before I closed it up, I wanted to check to make sure it was working, so I temporarily hooked it up to the circuit board. Again, don't push it all the way in, you don't have to, just enough to test it. Once it's tested and the lights are working, then you can go ahead and you can follow the instructions and close it up. But remember to leave, let's see what wire, it's wire G sticking out the bottom of the neck. Okay, so I didn't glue the halves together. I just wanted to check it. One thing you guys might want to really make sure of is that the wires don't show in the windows, because these black and red wires can really stick out if they're not positioned properly. I just wanted to make sure that they did not stick out. So, like I said, it's not glued yet. I don't know whether to glue it or put the wire in from the saucer section first and glue it to the saucer section. It looks like the space would be big enough so you can see the bottom through, but I don't know if I want to risk that. But I have to paint the line that's going to go in the front, so I'm probably going to go ahead and glue it. But I just wanted you guys to see what it looked like when it was lit to test. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it, and then it'll be ready to paint. Okay, so I glued the halves together. I got the wire running out, and for the accent color on the neck, they don't really give a color. They give, this is what they have on the paint guide. You get a picture of that. The closest I could come to this, the tester's paints that I have are a little dark. The paints that I have are more for the refit that I had gotten, and I don't really have this color. What I did was, this is actually nail polish that I stole from my wife, and I thought could come close to the color. I know it's a little different, but it was the closest that I had to come to it. I'm just worried it's going to be too bright when it dries. But the Enterprise is a beautiful lady, so I guess it's fitting that she has nail polish on her. But we'll see what it looks like when it dries and I take off the masking tape. If it looks terrible, I'll have to sand it down and get some paint, but for now we'll see. So I'll update you when it's dry and the masking tape is off. Okay, so as you can see, I took the masking off, and the color, it might be a little bit bright. Again, the neck accent color, it's not as prominent. That would be number 2. But this is the closest that I could get. I kind of like it. Like I said, it's my wife's nail polish, and I thought it was pretty cool. This is where the primer, let me just make sure it doesn't unplug. This is where the primer and the paint really come in handy, where you prime it so that the inside is white, so it's bright on the inside, but at the same time it doesn't bleed through. Let me see if I can flip it over for you without making it go out again. It's only a temporary connection. So that's the saucer Pylon. or I like to call it her neck. And we're ready to move on. Like I said, I kind of like the color. Like I said, it's not as prominent on the painting guide, but I kind of like it. And this is unique. This is, each individual has their own taste, so I'm going to leave it like this. I think it came out pretty good, and I can move on now. I believe the next steps will be the nacelle pylons. Yep. Step 5 is complete. The saucer pylon is done, and I'm going to be moving on to part 6, which is the nacelle pylons.